Oric Consulting presents the Oracle Podcast with Anton Marshall. Hello, I'm Anton Marshall and you're listening to the Oracle Podcast. Sitting with me is Tim Conibear of Ways for Change, which is a surf therapy organisation. Is that the way to describe it, Tim?
That would be a good way to describe it, yeah.
Very good. Okay, so we've done some work with Ways for Change before, or at least we've done some content with Ways for Change. We know what it is, but just for the benefit of people who might not have seen that before, or might not have come across it before, in a very sort of small nutshell, what does Ways for Change do?
So we're a child and youth care organisation, and the idea is we work with kids who have experienced emotional, psychological trauma. So we train child and youth care workers in developing communities or violent communities, and then we use surfing as a vehicle to connect the youth care worker to the child, and then we have a therapeutic curriculum, like a one-year program. Right. The goal of which is to stabilise kids so that they can become more productive in their communities, and in theory stop them dropping out of society.
Now, you've been doing this program for a couple of years now.
Yeah, 3 years now.
3 years now. Very successful program. I had the benefit of coming to visit you guys at Muizenberg not too long ago. And well, the first thing I'd just like to comment about is that I was very happy to find that, you know, surfing or sport-related stuff generally, or historically, has always given preference, for example, to boys. But I found that your program was very mixed in terms of, genders that were referred to you, girls and boys equally taking an interest in it, and your instructors that you've taken on as well, that you've started training. And they, of course, come out at the other end of the program with a qualification.
Yeah, in child and youth care work. So they come out with a matric qualification in child and youth care work, which is, that's awesome. I think the problem that we found is that there's very few resources for child protection, especially in townships. And the government in South Africa is spending, I think it's 4% of the national health budget gets spent on mental health, or the promotion of mental health. So it's a very small percentage. Of that 4%, I think 85% gets spent on training youth care workers, and most of them go into the private sector because there's no money in the public sector. So I think it's 5% of trained social workers end up practicing within the public sector. So when you look at the community violence rates and the exposure that young people have to traumatic events, which is about, I think it's 14 on average per year. Wow. The ability or the capacity of a young child to go and find a social worker is really, really difficult. So our goal really is training child and youth care workers, is training individuals that can be that are from these communities, that have a tool in surfing that attracts kids to them. So they have a really easy platform to engage.
Brilliant. I understand that the program, the Ways for Change program, is also now involved in some research going on at UCT, is it?
Actually, UCT and UWC at the moment.
Okay, can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, with UWC, we're doing what they call a child participation study. So we're trying to understand what is it that a child sees as the most important components of their life to make them feel good, so to promote their well-being. Because we make all kinds of assumptions as adults. It's quite nice. So what we've done is we've trained kids to be researchers, or when I say we, Elizabeth Benninger, who's our research director, has trained children how to be researchers. And the kids have gone out and done research on other kids, very ethically kind of minded, and they've been talking around what is it that kids need to feel well and to feel happy, and then what we're going to try and do is incorporate that into Ways for Change, but share that with other programs. Wow. And UWC are helping to write that up. And then with UCT, we're doing what they call a random control trial, so an RCT, and we're trying to work out what elements of the program is therapeutic. So is it the mentorship, is it the surfing, what is it about the program that's working, what is it about the program that's not, with a view to scaling the program in the next 2 or 3 years. So looking how we can share our knowledge with other programs that are operating in the sport space or the development space or the youth care space, and rather than scaling just Ways for Change and the brand of Ways for Change, scaling the knowledge that we gain from the study. So sharing it through academic reviews or just conferences, or the ways that we can take that research and that knowledge into the broader field, because I think then it benefits more people.
So it's quite an expansive program. Aside from the sort of immediate image of this program that's taking these kids and using surfing as a vehicle and a tool for therapy, etc. It's quite expansive as well in terms of engaging or getting involved with things like research and then spreading outwards, sharing information and this type of thing. And it has quite, I want to say, strong connections in trying to influence perhaps policy on this type of stuff, or at least be aware of it and engage with it.
We're still quite a young organisation and quite small, so the research that we're doing is primarily driven at understanding what we do better.
Right.
If it influences policy, that would be cool, but I don't think we're big enough really to influencing
One day.
Yeah, unless someone listening to this thinks, maybe we'll incorporate that. But there's definite value to it, and we take it seriously. The idea of just going surfing, we know that's not going to be the answer. We can't just give people surfboards and say off you go. We want to understand why and how, because then we can look at mapping what we do into other sports, or we can improve the service that we give to young kids, so we make sure that what they need is incorporated into what we give them. It just makes the programme stronger in the long term, which, if it is going to grow, it's important to grow from a strong base. So that's why we're committed to it at the moment. And that might change in the future. We might do more research along other findings that come out, but that's where we are at the moment.
On a personal level, you've recently, given an Ashoka fellowship. Yeah. Can you tell us what that's about and how did that come about for you?
Flagged an Ashoka fellowship. No, it was really cool. It's so Ashoka's a network of global. I think they call them global change makers. So people that are operating in the social space. And I think Ways for Change is a little bit different to the normal model. I think that it's normally like a social entrepreneur.
Right, yes, of course.
What do they call it? Social enterprise model. So people involved in, I think that the fellow who started the microfinance things in India is a fellow, and there's various other people.
Innovative ideas and how they...
and more with the social output. So there are 3,000 fellows around the world at the moment, so I was quite lucky to get one.
Quite
happy with it, quite stoked.
Finally, looking at the year ahead or the immediate future ahead, where would you want to see Ways for Change a year from now?
It's a good question. We were actually talking about that this morning in our Monday meeting. The program you came down to at Muizenberg, we've just that's relatively new. It's about 4 months old.
Okay.
And we're just starting operations in Lavender Hill. We're about 4 months into operations in Lavender Hill, extra to the work we do in Masiphumelele and Tshetsha. So we want to be at a stage where that's the Lavender Hill program specifically is running itself, similar to what's happened in Masi and in Tshetsha, where the community now runs the program. And we want to get the research out. We want to start raising a bit more money, so we can look at how we can share what we have with other organisations. So ideally what I'd love to be able to do is be in a position where we can not only give our curriculum and our program model to an organisation, we can fund them as well, because then the incentive to use it is greater, and the capacity for them to use the program model that we give them is greater. So, bit of research, lots of capacity building in Lavender Hill, lots of training in Lavender Hill, some fundraising, and then we'll see. Hopefully, like a national program at some point in the next 2 years would be good. Yeah. So national fund in the Eastern Cape, or further up the West Coast.
That'd be quite nice.
We'll see.
Just as a matter of context, if you have these kinds of numbers at hand, how many kids are you seeing at this point in time?
It's 250 kids a week go through the program at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's grown from 10 kids a week when we first started. So there is definitely capacity to scale it. When we first started, it was one youth care worker in training reaching 10 kids. These days, we employ 16 trainee youth care workers, and they reach 250 kids. So there is a scalability to it, and we're just making sure that before we try anything like that, we have the academic support behind us, the knowledge, so it's a strong program. Otherwise we'll run into a lot more problems.
Well, we hope you don't, Tim Conibear of Ways for Change. Hopefully we get you back in a couple of months' time to do some catch-ups and updates.
We'll get you in the water first.
Good luck getting me in the water. Anyway, thanks very much for spending the time with us, and we'll speak again soon. Thanks, Tim.
Cool. Thanks a lot. You
have been listening to the Oracle podcast, brought to you by Ori Consulting, www.oriconsulting.co.za.